What's going on? First, I wanted to thank everybody who watched the first movie review video. I know the title was a little misleading, but I do it like that to obviously get the attention of somebody who's watching, and I appreciate the feedback. And you know, everybody should, whoever's seen it knows that I'm not actually doing a review on the movie like a movie critic, but it's to show how some things are just being fed to us, in an entertainment sense, so a person may miss the message. So this group set of movies I'm going to talk about, this is mainly focusing on children. People wondering why the children seem so cold now and they just do whatever. Well, first I'll talk about these movies in the spiritual sense, these spiritual movies. Last Exorcism, they have part 2 coming out. You got the Paranormal Activity where the spirit is, coming after the youngest child, of course, the youngest son. That's the movie Mama. Still haven't seen that, but I will eventually. 2 little girls, being taken care of by this spirit that's really evil, but, it's made to look like it's their friend. We have the Possession, which was based on a true story. Another little girl. It's funny, the theme is with these little girls. And what was another one? Actually, you know what? I'll just stick with those right now. So these movies, they're always showing these little kids being, either taken under the wing of or targeted by these, these malevolent entities or whatnot. And again, this is, as I'm watching this objectively, I'm saying, oh wow, they're really telegraphing the punches that, in a spiritual sense, the spirits of children have been, pretty much taken over almost collectively. But how is it done though? And this is where I get into like public school systems and things like that. Mainly the school systems, because they spend most of the time there. And if you've noticed, if your child goes to public school, does it seem like you're almost fighting for your own authority over your own child against the school system itself? They're being taught almost how to live in a communistic / socialistic society. There is no right and wrong, no real winners or losers. To say that something's wrong is stunting their development, and you're a bad parent, and you're abusive if you say something's wrong or say, no, that's bad to do. Or, they're more concerned about the policies, and the policies keep changing with the school. They make you seem incompetent, all right? They try to belittle you, from in front of your children. When something happens with your child in the class or in school or something, you rarely hear about it, but they're quick to try to get in your business if they get hurt around your place or something, just playing like normally kids do. All right? But it's to establish a precedent, to set a precedent, basically. And that is to say that you as the parent, you're just a provider. Your children belongs to us now. When they walk through these doors, it's like going to a minimum security prison almost. Okay, you pick them up a couple of minutes late and you're getting reamed out like you're getting chewed up by your boss or something. All right, but what is that doing to the child? Oh, mommy and daddy not as powerful. It seems like they're more powerful. Or like back to what I was saying, when they get hurt and they don't call or something like that. And this recently happened to someone's child who hurt her nose and didn't hear about it from the school. However, if she got hurt her nose around the house and went to school, again, they'd be all over the place. But it's to teach them that nobody can help you. It's a cold world. You need to learn how to just be violent and react on a whim and all these things. Like what's really going on with these children in these schools all these days, to where it seems like you gotta fight for their attention and try to pretty much win their soul back, figuratively speaking, after a long week at school. And throughout the weekend, they're fine. But by the time they get back to school and get out of school that Monday, it seems like there's this switch. All right? And it seems more or less about education and more about indoctrination. I mean, I think Aleister Crowley had this quote, get them before 8 or it's too late. And so, you have kids who have no clear-cut lines being drawn of right and wrong anymore. Everything is relative. Everybody wants this gray area of relativity. try to say it's, oh, it's you know, progressiveness or whatnot, but that particular camp or ideology, there's no fairness in it. It never really is when it comes to those things. Anybody who tries to say that this is wrong is a bad person. You know, say what you're free to say what you want to say, as long as it sounds, as long as it goes along with the social progressive agenda, which is really another way of saying socialism. It's propaganda, it's brainwashing. When something's wrong, it's wrong. Something's good, it's good. Children need to know that. It's not abuse to say so. All right? And it's almost as if the parents are doing more work for the school than the school. Okay? While you're trying to keep up with all these different changes every month, and you know, there's always something going on where you have to provide so many things for the whole class because, you know, they told your student they got to provide this, and it's creating this all in together now kind of thing, but it's mainly seemed like a control deal. You know, it's all about taking control away from the parents more. And another thing, you know, the children's, their emotional state gets numbed in these school systems. You know, I mean, how many teachers are actually teachers and not indoctrinators? You know, they just rub you the wrong way. They always seem to be condescending towards you because the child may not catch on as fast as something, like you're doing something wrong. It's like, wait a minute, you're the one being paid to teach. I pay the tuition, you teach. You know what I mean? Sure, there are some things you do around the house, but most people are not teachers. You could teach someone something, but they're not teachers where it's their job. Or I know it's each one teach one, but there are some people who are qualified or get certified to teach classes and things like that, and all the different methods they use to teach. I mean, yeah, you can teach your kid, work with them how to read and add, subtract, all that stuff. That's fine. But it's almost as if they're trying to recruit the parents to do half the job for them at the school, you know, while they're busy trying to enforce policy. And other movies that come to mind, one with Christian Bale, Equilibrium, where they were taking pills to kill the emotions off, and see how the kid, you know, Christian Bale, he was starting to question things, but the child, that's all he knew growing up, his son, and he was ready to turn his own father in and call him a traitor. You know what I mean? You got movies like The Hunger Games. All right, need I say more? I mean, they're basically slaughtering each other. It looked like, you know, 300 for kindergartners or something, you know what I mean? 300 mixed with Running Man or something, you know, for K through 8 or something. It was bloody. It was brutal. And this is the kind of what's happening to the children in society now. You know, people, what's going on? They're being indoctrinated. Think about where they spend most of their time to learn this stuff, you know? Oh, it's okay to explore your sexuality and everything as a kid in school, but you know, you can't defend yourself if you're being picked on. Right. So, also, I'm going to read this excerpt. Since we're talking about schools, Human Race, Get Off Your Knees, Lion Sleeps No More, by David Icke, or Ike, or Ike, or Icky. Pick one. Alright. This is the chapter in the back called Game Plan, Stealing the Children. I'm going to read a couple of excerpts. Alright. This was an excerpt from the World Federation for Mental Health. Said a document says, studies of human development indicate that the modifiability of human behavior throughout life, especially during infancy, childhood, and adolescence. Social institutions such as family and school impose their imprint early. It is the men and women in whom these patterns of attitude and behavior have been incorporated who present the immediate resistance to social, economic, and political changes. In other words, and then that's the end of the excerpt, but the rest is, in other words, destroy the family so the state can implant its own sense of perception from birth. And then he referenced this book from Aldous Huxley, Brave New World, saying, in brief, parents were the father and mother. These are unpleasant facts, I know it, but then most historical facts are unpleasant. In those days, children were brought up by their parents and not in state conditioning centers. And, you know, I recommend everybody read this book. It's a lot of good stuff in here. And another excerpt I want to read is from, who was this? Bertrand Russell described the agenda for children in his 1931 book, The Scientific Outlook. It says, all the boys and girls will learn from an early age to be what is called cooperative, to do exactly what everybody is doing. Sound like what they doing in the schools now, right? You know, you have to, you know, provide so much for a class. You know, just tell your parents they need to provide this many pencils and stuff for the class and whatever. You know, it's what kind of socialistic crap is that? Cooperative. I mean, more like co-communist. Communist. Got it. All right. It says initiative will be discouraged in these children, and insubordination will, without being punished, will be scientifically trained out of them. Education should aim at destroying free will, so that after pupils have left school, they should be incapable throughout the rest of their lives of thinking or acting otherwise than as their schoolmasters would have wished. Diet, injections, and injunctions will combine from a very early age to produce the sort of character and the sort of beliefs that the authorities consider desirable, and any serious criticism of the powers that be will become psychologically impossible. Even if all are miserable, all will believe themselves happy because the government will tell them that they are so. Pretty heavy, right? Education should aim at destroying free will, and they will be encouraged to be cooperative. Wow. So, oh, and in the other part, something happened without being punished, all right? So a little kid makes his fingers like this at school and he's expelled, all right? Or some other kid takes a fruit and act like it's a hand grenade and they're suspended. These real harsh actions, to just traumatize a kid like, whoa, 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 what is this? Kids play cops and robbers all the time, play soldier or whatever, but they get punished like this. It's about instilling in them the sense of fear, against the system or whatever. And it makes the parents look weak because they can't get them back in school. They look weak in front of their kids. And so the kids lose any ability to, when they grow older, to resist, as they say, or to be insubordinate. So those movies I named that's, affecting children spiritually, psychologically, physically, whatever, it's sort of like the punch that's being telegraphed from those movies. Well, the children are being targeted and they're being taken over and they're being taught that there is no parent, there is no true power except for the state, and that's it. Special shout out to the Lawrence Cruz school system, by the way. Probably one of the worst I've ever seen. I mean, that place is a minimum security prison and a serious indoctrination center. Chicago public schools not any better. But just pay attention to your children's behavior. Based like how they are during the weekend when they're just with you, and how they are after that first day of school, and see how they pay attention to things, how they seem to ignore you and don't really mind your power or your authority or anything, as a parent. They seem to be more in control of the state. And I'm going to close on that. Have a good day.